Okay, so it's currently recording, and basically I haven't even seen Rachel in a while, and she's just forced me to like just turn on the recording because, well, she got delayed at work, so it's her boss's fault. Let's just blame that.
Yeah, plus you were trying to tell me all your secrets on your little notebook, so I was like, how about we just tell each other on recording so it's like natural?
We did have like, because yeah, we just started talking about the stories to see if they were the same, because like obviously we put out our information last week, and Rachel's been doing loads of the social media stuff, so we need to talk to you about that.
Yes. So we now have a Twitter, which is at talking_torture. We have an Instagram, which is at Talking Torture. We have a Facebook page, which is Talking Torture. And then we also have a Facebook group, which you can find through the page, which is also Talking Torture. So if you haven't heard that name enough...
So wait, was that Talking Torture?
Talking Torture, Talking Torture, Talking Torture.
It's like, just in case you didn't know what we were talking about, it is
Yes.
torture.
And we will try and link all this in the description or whatever it is. I don't know, you do all that. Are you able to do that?
Yeah, well, basically, we're just going with the flow, and we like listening to podcasts, so we were like, well, we need to hang out and we need to talk about torture, and we might as well just like record it and see if anyone else likes it. I mean, there might be some news in a few like months or so, you never know, so just if you're interested in torture and think that me and Rachel are, you know, kind of funny, not too weird, the fact that we're talking about this. Well, to be fair, like,
I think we're funny to each other.
we've got like hidden jokes.
We both think that we're hilarious because me and you are the same, and we say a lot of things the same, but I think other people will probably not think we're funny at all.
I know,
They'll just be
like,
like, what the hell are these two weirdos doing?
I think it's kind of strange as well, because we've obviously gone through listening to obviously murder podcasts and like watching crime documentaries, and we're trying to talk about like torture, and it is quite funny. There's a lot of TV shows that we've watched,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of films that are about torture as well, and over the next like few shows they can get
Yeah, I was
discussed.
going to say, I think it's one of those things, we're just interested in true crime and torture and all that kind of stuff on a whole, and we just wanted to do something a bit different because, you know...
We're women and we're strong and independent, that's what we are.
Independent.
Oh yeah, that is like, isn't that my Facebook like URL?
I think so.
Yeah.
We'll just give it away, everyone.
It's alright, I am private, so only them people like that really want to stalk me, like our one follower, Dave.
But yeah, I do want to do some more true crime stuff. Every time I say it, it always goes wrong. But like,
It's
true
a good job I
crime...
can edit this.
Yeah.
Leave
And then
that
you're just
bit
going to
in.
leave in there.
I left him a few things last week. So there was like, I keep going, like I just did then, and umming.
Yeah.
And there's like times where you just laugh as well. And then I'm like, I'm just gonna have to cut them out. And we both say like I just did then, and
Literally.
then.
And I know I say literally a lot.
Literally a lot.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, so the last 5 minutes should get cut
I think
out.
as well, when I want to say something to you, like I want to reply to what you're saying, but I don't have anything to actually say, so I'm just like, ha ha, ha ha, all the time. Every time you say something, I'm just like, ha ha.
It's like, yeah, and also we don't want to accidentally
It's like,
go
yeah.
over. Yeah, so this is currently a record for how many can we do during a podcast.
How many like weird giggles
And literally.
and literallys and yes.
Yes, so I just did one then. So I think that's a lot of stuff that we need to catch up on.
We did say talking torture about 10 million times.
But we do need to, you know, let them know that we are
Yes.
talking about.
Just in case you're not sure that that's what we're talking about. Pretty grim, but at the same time it's kind of...
Yeah, I mean, really, like, if you really think about it these days, it's mental that in, like, a few hundred years ago, people would actually do this sort of thing.
Well, it's not even a few hundred years
Well,
ago when you really
some
think
now,
about it.
hint,
like,
hint, future shows.
yes. I think maybe we should actually get into, like, our torture podcast, since this is Talking Torture.
Who wants to go first?
I think we should at least say what our subject is this week.
Okay.
So...
Okay, this week we've decided we were both scared of rats, so So we were like, well, what torture methods used rats? Because, you know, why not talk about something we both hate?
And then, so it's literally rat torture. And I have this, every time I was researching this and I was thinking about rats, all I could think of is, I think it's American Dad, you know, when they're doing that shot. But every time, all I could think is rats.
Oh my God.
Rats.
Like, every time I put in rat torture, it literally just had, like, YouTube videos coming up with random rats just running across the street.
No, I think it was from, there's some museum, I think it's like Medieval Torture Museum or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but it's like an actual museum you can go to that like shows you, and there's like mannequins and like wax figures, and there was an actual image, and I was just like,
wait, is
no.
that hang on, I may have seen this. Was this a wax image of like a man
Yeah,
laying down?
Yeah.
Oh my
And
God,
the cat,
yeah, we'll get into that.
But yeah, and I was thinking we need to go to this museum. I don't know where it is. Can't remember what it was called, but I was just like, we need to go.
Just take a load of photos
Yeah.
if they let us.
We should just like record a video of us there.
And then like crying because we were actually like freaking out and really scared.
I don't know, you might just go to sleep, you know how relaxing.
That is true. No, that is the reason we started this, because
Pretty
you made me
much.
fall asleep listening to loads of torture.
I think you should go first this week because I think I did last week.
Oh, okay, so
Because
I've got a few different things, but we can always come back.
I was going to say, you do one thing and then I'll talk and then you talk. But well, it'll be, we'll both just talk at the same time, but you kind of kick things off with whatever it is you wanted to talk about. Because mine's just like a lot of info. I don't really have that many stories.
It's because the main technique of rat torture is probably what you've got a lot of details about, I'm guessing, about how it all started.
Yeah.
So if we go on to that, I found a story which was to do with a guy basically to get criminals to talk. He realised that obviously people would be more inclined to talk through fear rather than actually being hurt. Although I'm saying that, you wait till the end of the story. So this guy basically put like convicted criminals and murderers, rapists, etc. All at the bottom of the dungeon, you know, cliche right there. And this was...
That's how you know they're the bad guy, if they own a dungeon full of rats.
Yeah, this is literally like the thing as well, dark, cold dungeon. But the way the dungeon was designed was it was near the sewer.
I found a thing like that, and it was to be used in the Elizabethan era. I found this, and it was basically this is like a quote that I found: a cell below high water mark and totally dark would draw rats in from the River Thames as the tide flowed in. Prisoners in some instances would have flesh torn from their arms and legs.
Yeah, it was similar to that.
So is it that kind of...
Yeah, so like I've got written down here because there was a few different stories about it.
Yeah.
So this was about how victims would be chained up in the dungeon.
Yeah.
And then obviously when the sewer did rise, which is
Yeah.
disgusting, not only would they get like feces over them, but all the rats would be coming up from upstream.
Well, I was going to say, in the River Thames it would as well, wouldn't it? Because in those times, that's where they were throwing all the toilet.
That is absolutely disgusting. So the way that this tortured, I've got written down here, excuse me if I just go throw up in the corner. So rats would obviously like feeding on the bodies, because the people would be chained up, they'd still be able to move, so they'd move.
So they'd be alive and they'd be like
but then be able to knock off the rat. So even though they were being like eaten slowly, they were also not dying, so then it was getting infected because of the feces that was all over them. They were ultimately dying from the blood, the pus, and all of the really disgusting things
Plus,
that I don't want to say.
I was going to say, even if the sewer water's coming in and that's getting inside the
Yeah, and it says here as well, like obviously people would be threatened with this torture method in order for them just to speak, because people would be so afraid of just being in the pitch black.
I would.
Yeah.
Just be like, I'll tell you anything you need to know.
Or just imagine like pet rats, I can deal with that. Like my boyfriend, he used to have a pet rat, and I've seen them. They look quite nice, but having like 1,000
I was gonna say
run over me.
We had a pet rat. You know what I don't like? It's the tiny little hands.
No, yeah, it's a bit like I want to say unnatural, but no, that's not the word.
I know what you
like
mean.
Nerving,
It's just kind of the whole thing with spiders. The thing with spiders is there's too many legs, and I find with rats it's the tiny little paws that freak me out and are also cute at the same time. And I'm actually getting physically shivers. I've got goosebumps just thinking of it.
I know.
And it's the long tail. If they're in a cage and they're away from me and I can appreciate them.
It depends what kind of cage though, Rachel.
Well, like normal one, like pet cage, away from me, and I'm like, I can appreciate that they're there and they're doing their thing, but when they're near me, no.
I mean, we live obviously in a city, so we have loads of rats around here. So when I moved up here as a university student, I'd be walking to Asda to buy, healthy things unlike alcohol. And
healthy things,
back in first year. Now, and there would be rats just running across me. And where I live, where I'm from, Northamptonshire, throw that out there because I'm posh. And I'm joking. I never saw a rat, and it was just disgusting. I was like, why did I move
it's just like
here?
that main street, isn't it, where the university and then they've got all the takeaway places.
Yeah.
And you just see them running out.
Seeing all the rats around the takeaway places has really made me not want to get takeaway.
I never get takeaway from any of those shops because one of those was on Grime Fighters, or what's it called?
One of like the food things.
The pizza
anyway.
place was on Grime.
I don't know what it's called.
Grime Fight. No.
If you know what it's called, please message us.
It's like
because else we'll just.
Because I used to go around telling everyone.
There was also, the 99p baguette shop as well. They basically had rat drop-ins, contaminated their food, wasn't it, or something?
It's closed down now, it's all good.
Anyway.
But I found out the day after I'd gone there for food.
Oh no, Rachel.
I was like, I actually want to die.
That is the worst thing. That's why, my boyfriend, he always goes to, places with, a 5-star hygiene rating. And you know what? I respect him for that.
I'm sorry, but if we don't all have that much money.
No, even McDonald's is 5-star. It's alright.
Yeah, well.
Don't say things on the podcast. Anyway, so that's being cut out. What's being cut out? See, they won't.
Okay.
Yeah, that was basically.
That was just a segue.
So from McDonald's.
Okay. See, I always like to find a little thing that just kind of explains it, and I say always. Last time I did it, and this time I did it.
So twice.
So my thing was just saying, rat torture is the use of rats to torture a victim, and this was done by encouraging them to attack and eat the victims alive, which is pretty obvious when you think of it, but whatever. And there was a thing called the Rats Dungeon, and it was apparently used in the Tower of London and was written about by the Roman Catholics from Elizabethan era. I don't know, but it sounded smart. And it had that little bit that I told you about with the water and blah blah blah.
The blah blah blah.
The blah blah blah. I found out that it was originally used in medieval China and was described as the most brutal torture technique ever devised. You can survive for days and days just getting eaten and nibbled at by a tiny rat. But most of the other things, quick in comparison.
It feels like it's slow, but the actual time scales, they cut you in half within about an hour, but being eaten by a rat,
But even if it's taken an hour for them to cut you in half, you're probably dead halfway through that anyway, through loss of blood.
Yeah.
When you think of things like that, because you're usually hung upside down, so all your blood's draining out anyway.
It's making me... Ooh.
Good job, this is what we chose to talk about. And apparently it was also used in Chile, and this is the thing. You know how you were saying hundreds of years ago?
Yeah.
This was used in Chile in 1973 to 1990.
That's ridiculous.
And there was a case of a woman being tortured in 1981 who described being kept in a room full of rats during interrogation.
Oh, so she was kept in a room, so that was playing on her phobia.
Yeah, but then at the same time, if she was kept in there long enough and the rats were hungry enough, then...
That's disgusting. It's mental because they say, don't they, that with rats as well, I was reading up about it, if they have no means of escape or they need food, they will literally chew through anything.
Yeah,
So-
well, it's like most animals.
Yeah.
Your cat would eat you eventually.
Yeah, well, I've like read a post before where it was about
Like elderly
Elderly
that have
people.
yeah, but cats are worse than dogs because dogs will wait a while. Dogs will wait until they're starving, dying, like before they eat you. Cats will just be like fucking hungry and eat you.
oh, and you've got a cat.
Yeah,
But Peanut's well cute.
she'd definitely eat me, and I'm like, well, she should. If I'm like not there to give her food, well.
She'd curl up on you and then start eating
Yeah.
you while she's like
Sounds
laying
so
down.
cute. Yeah, so
Back to rats.
you can.
So
do
I actually
something
like
else.
when I actually started looking for rat torture, it wasn't really coming up with like things in the old times. But I actually found a case of a woman being tortured. Now this is a bit of like a side note because it's not actually about rat torture. But this woman actually survived. It wasn't on I Survived. Me and Rachel, like, we've got into that recently. But anyway, this woman was called Megan Williams. She's from West Virginia, which I can say now, which before the podcast was recorded, I couldn't say. And basically, she was invited to a party with this woman that she was, like, talking to, just casually. She was walking down the road. When they were getting closer, she noticed that it wasn't a party as such, and that there was a group of people just out like in one of those sort of like caravan sort of homes, and they ended up actually capturing this woman, and it was actually a planned kidnap.
That's insane.
And they actually tortured her for a week before she was like managed to get out or found. Yeah, in that time she was raped. But the thing that caught my eye was they kept forcing her to eat rats while she was being tortured.
I guess that's still rat torture because that's using rats to torture someone.
Yeah, so
which
but
is gross.
they also made her eat feces as well, like human feces.
Ugh.
I could just say shit, but
Yeah.
I thought
That
I would
actually
like-
sounds better. I'd rather you just said she was eating shit because. And you say eat shit all the time. Well, I do. I'm just like eat shit.
Just walk around going, you eat shit. mate."
Eat shit and die. Look, that is just like, yeah, but that's
Yeah.
much more casual than saying like feces.
But I actually found like that was just a random short like torture thing that I found.
Yeah.
And that was like only a couple years ago as well. And it was actually because she was black, and I thought, seriously.
That's because humans are trash.
Yeah, it's like, come on. It's not like the 18th century anymore. Like, stop it. We're all the same.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but have you seen who the president is? Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Trumpy. Have you heard all the news at the moment as well, like with him having sex with the porn star?
So, I found this, and this was like explaining what would happen. So I'm just going to read. The victim would be stripped naked and tied to a table.
Is this like the main case?
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, it's okay, I'm just going to drink my hot chocolate anyway, even though it just...
Basically, they'd get like a cell, is what they called it, which was essentially just like a cage, which was kind of dome shaped, and they'd cut the bottom off, and they'd put that on top of him. He would have hungry rats inside it, and then on the top it was designed so it had like a solid bit of metal, like rather than the cage, which obviously has the holes, the squares, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, like the bars across, it would have like a solid bit where they'd put hot coals on the top. The rat obviously would try and escape, and they'd move away from the heat. And so what they'd do is burrow the stomach,
Very nice.
and like they would just chew and eat at like all the internal organs and things like that, because they'd be moving away from all the hot coal, and it was just like literally that's what they would do to you.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like you're laying there naked on a table
Yeah.
with like a metal bowl on top of you.
Yeah.
With like rats on your skin, and then they have to begin eating through you.
Yeah, okay, I found, but that's one method that was used most often.
Yeah.
But the other method was they would have a rat inserted into either your asshole or your vagina hole, and the head would be faced towards internal organs. They would actually face it up in an angle, and then the victim was sewn shut.
Whoa,
like the hole was sewn shut.
So that's that's disgusting.
So the rat would never be able to turn around and get back out, and then it would just cause internal bleeding and excruciating pain, so that you would just die.
See, the one that I found was basically, it was a bit like the heat method, but they put a pole on your ass or on your vagina, and they'd put a flow of rats at the other end of the pole. Then they'd start heating up the pole.
Oh, so they ran
ran into you, yeah. And then obviously you have to start burrowing.
That's probably what they did, but I just had the added part of then they sewed it up, which is so disgusting.
It's like, surely you would be already dying with a rat inside you straight away, or with them sewing you up, because you'd be in so much pain.
Yeah. I think that's the point though, isn't it? They don't really care.
It's so weird to like even think about that sort of level of pain.
I know.
No,
all I can think about is a scurrying rat inside your womb, I
would really like to know if anyone's actually ever survived some sort of rat torture. Don't worry, there's no rats inside this house. It's kind of clean at the moment.
I know it sounds gross, but the stomach thing, I'm like, that's bad, but the whole putting it inside of you actually makes me feel sick.
I think I would, hopefully my body would go into shock,
and
I wouldn't feel it, so I would die straight away. If that was to happen to me, that's what I would like my body to do.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully my body won't let me down.
No.
There was also like another story that I found. It wasn't to do with rats, but it was to do with animals. And also we were talking about it the other day with like Carl, and he basically said that there was a guy who actually invented this like bronze sort of pig, like the shape of a pig, the human criminal or victim or whatever inside. Then tighten it up, like, so it couldn't get out. Then you'd slowly warm it up, not like heat it up. This one
was a pig. This is the
the reason why it was called that is because the nostril, pig squeals.
Yeah.
So when the human would scream, it would be made in a way that the scream would go out of the pig's nose and sound like it would sound like a pig. And the guy that invented it, this is what Carl was telling me yesterday, they then used that torture method on him. Yeah, so he died.
There is the brazen bull, which is pretty similar to that.
Well, to be fair, all torture methods kind of go.
It's like they would heat it up and it would get so hot that they would literally boil alive, and then the steam would come out of the bull, because obviously you always have that image of the bull with the...
Yeah, they've got that outside of Birmingham. That's actually a torture thing. You know what I mean? See, like, we've kind of covered the basics, really, when it comes to covered the basics of rat torture.
The only thing I got that I don't think I mentioned was it was an improved method from Europe in the 16th century and belonged to the Dutch revolutionary leader Diederik Sonno...
Okay, so Diederik Sonno. That sounds good.
It's DITRIKU SONO. I'm not even sure if that's a Y or a G anymore, and a U at the end.
So when we organise things, we need to make sure we write things down properly.
Or you can just take it as it is, because my writing's never getting any better.
No, I really like the way that you're like writing with your different colours. I've literally on mine, I have doodles of roses, and there's also like bubble writing over talking torture.
That's about the extent to flowers that I can do.
Well, we can always put these on Instagram or something later.
Literally, my thing was I was writing it and then I was like, oh, I found a quote, I'll put that in a different colour so that I know it's a quote, and then I realised that I was just doing random shit. So I just pretended it was a quote.
No, it looks good.
And it's just because I bought a pack of pens with different colours, so now I have to use them.
No, it looks good. See, this is going to be like probably a short show again. It'll be longer than the last one because we've done a lot more talking. Yeah.
How long is it? Where does it say?
It's been half an hour.
But I feel like we've been talking forever.
It's like, it's kind of when you're reading, it actually goes a lot quicker.
But we waffled on about stuff for ages. We were just like, let's just talk about this random thing.
So anyway, Rachel, that was a little bit weird. Anyway, next week again, we're not really sure what we're gonna do, or is it gonna be a surprise? We know what we're gonna do.
No, we don't.
No, we
We
don't.
have no idea. We're probably gonna go away, and then one of us will text the other, going, "Shall we do this thing, maybe?"
And then we'll just begin writing random stuff again.
Yeah.
But really, this is just a chance for us to just take photos of our tea and talk about torture, catch up on our favourite podcast,
Yes.
and also just get away from work really for 5 minutes.
Pretty much, yeah.
So anyway, thank you. Bye.
I never know how to end it. It's just like, bye.
Bye.